Let me show you how you could hit the ball up to 20 yards further by using the energy you're already using, but using it at a better time and trying to apply that energy to the ball. So yes, you're not going to have to swing fast, so you're not going to have to go to the gym. You're going to do the same movements that you do now, but we're just going to get the timing of them way better to get the energy out into the head and then onto the ball. So the idea is I'm using an iron for this demonstration, and you can use it for your iron play, but you can absolutely use it with driver too, and I have done to gain distance, and I do it with students to gain them distance without them feeling like they're having to hit it harder, and that's the crazy bit. So when I use my Swing Catalyst force plates here, what we see over and over and over and over again is that amateurs just simply use loads of energy. They push in the ground, they push the plate, they react and move that plate, get forces into that plate, but they don't get it out early enough. They tend to be late, which you can see from these graphs, and I know graphs are scary, but the peaks are just too late, and then meaning the drop-offs when that energy's coming out is happening like after the ball was gone. Think of it this way. I'm going to hit this ball, but I'm going to do it with a jump action, so I'm going to hit it while I'm jumping. That's, for this argument, this discussion, is what gives me the most distance. So I'm not going to hit the ball and then jump. What's the point in that? There's no point in that. I've got the jump, the energy part, the load and the release of energy happening after I've hit the ball. And that's what we're seeing from these players. We are not seeing that from the pros. We see it from the amateurs, but not the pros. The pros are great at getting what energy they put in out at a time that affects impact the shot. So think about that, and I say this to students: you're making great moves, you're making fantastic energy filled moves, you're just not doing it at the right time. So it's not that we have to get you making more moves, and sometimes it is, obviously everyone's individual, but for most it's about getting the energy that they're already creating out and sequenced at a better time. And to me, I think that's really positive, because most people come for a lesson saying, well, I'm doing it all wrong, I must be rubbish. No, you're doing lots of really good things. But why are we doing them a week later than when you should be doing them? So the force we're going to talk about to kick us off is vertical. So this force. So in a golf swing, you're going to have torque forces, so how much you can move the plates kind of this way, and then you can have horizontal, and then you got vertical. And good players, the thing we notice with good players is they use all three of these forces really well. I'm going to concentrate on the vertical just to start your journey down the ideas of trying to get your energies out earlier. This won't work for everybody, but what it will do is it will make you really understand that you are doing a lot of good things already, and if you did them that bit earlier, how much better you could be. So you can use this idea. Stand up as you're watching this video if you can, and do this with me. So I'm going to jump, like that first idea. Watch what happens when I jump. Which way do I have to go first to go that way? I have to load. I can't just stand here and jump, like literally I can't move, and even if we measure down the plate, I would have still pushed down. So what I do is I push down, I start pushing into these plates, into the ground, into the teeing ground that you're hitting, to get ready to jump in time. So the timing of my jump is dictated by the timing of my load, and that's exactly what we see and don't see between pros and amateurs in their swing. They kind of load about here, and they hit the ball, they're still loading. So they're actually going down this part of their jump as they hit the ball, and then they jump. Now don't think that exaggeration there that I did makes you think of hitting fats and fins. Don't think of it as going this way and this way so much, because there's so many other tilts and twists in there that make it way more complicated. Think of it more of energy transfer. So the first thing I want you to practice when you go to the range next is how quickly can you load that jump up in your golf swing? Because we're going to try and move these verticals to get you the feeling. Crisping strikes, longer hits without you feeling like you're having to just swing at it like a crazy golfer. So as I make my backswing, as soon as I start pulling back and the club starts going from this position up in the air, so up to go over my shoulder, in my head, doesn't happen as we measure it, but in my head, to trigger my jump at the right time of impact, I start loading up my lead foot. Yep, that early. That's the only way I can trigger it at the right time, and this is where often in golf ideas, trying to think of things like at the last minute, just they're too late. You can't process that information to get it out in time. So great triggers for you to feel this load that I'm talking about is I want you to take the club back. As soon as that club starts going up in the air, I want you to lift, lead heel, let this heel slightly come up and start to feel the ball of your foot really start squishing down into that ground. So really feel like if you had a tomato, something under this lead, kind of ball of your foot, you're absolutely squashing it. And then as you start your downswing, you can then even try and increase that squash. So as I go here, I'm lifting the lead here, I'm starting to squash it. As I start my downswing, then I'm really, now like you wouldn't want your finger under my foot there, because I'm doing that as early as I can. See how my foot jumped back? To try and get that jump out. Like, see, I'm peaking my forces about here. And then the rest of it is as the club comes down in these milliseconds, I am trying to get out to get that energy onto that head. I want you just to think of these ideas. Screen is set at 160. This is an 8 iron. And what I'm going to do is I'm really going to stay in my lead foot. There was no jump. I didn't load up. I stayed really level, 160 with my 8 iron. I just stayed everything really calm in my feet. I played a really gentle 8 iron. This green now is 190. I can't hit an 8 iron 190. So this is now where I'm really starting to increase my loads, my jumps. If I was doing a physical jump, so the first jump I kind of went like this. This one I'm going down more to try and jump up more. I'm preloading, I'm setting up to try and send it. I can't hit it 190, but we'll see how close I get. Let's see how my lead foot just literally jumped back. Not bad, that's carrying nearly 180 and then rolling up there. So to see the contrast in those two shots, and there lies the skill. I will use the one where I stay level footed in a round of golf, maybe a little bit more than the one where I do max jump. But the max jump one allows me to move my standard, my average, certainly with the driver and my irons, in between those two extremes. So the standard kind of level foot to the one where I'm really pushing hard. So I'll go in between those two when I play golf. So I feel like I can still strike it and I feel like I could still hit the green. What your pros are doing is they have that top end. They'll get their energies out as early as possible. And lucky enough for them, often they're doing it like perfectly and at the right time, hence they're the world's best. But for amateurs, they're doing the first one and worse than that as their standard shot. They haven't got the load and jump one. They can't get the energies out. And often by just staying buried in lead side, which is what we see so many of them doing, does create really floppy impacts. It does get a little bit kind of grounding out early, tops, fats and fins. It really then changes the order of path because how everything else fires gets out of sync. Getting somewhere between max load and jump to then practicing where you feel where you stay really kind of level footed and then finding that middle ground will transform how you hit your driver and your irons, your strikes, your distance without you feeling like you need to do my second one there. You absolutely smash it. Now the next idea, and again we see this so much in amateurs v pros, and where again there are different patterns with all different players. This is the beginning of your journey. It's way more complex than this, but it's a great way of starting and feeling how to use the energies you're already creating and move them to come out at a better time. Is trying to get less slide and trying to get things to stop so this can fire. The reason this fires at max speed is because other things are slowing down. Hip, shoulder turns, they're really slowing down and stopping. Even that grip end is starting to slow down to allow that club to then pass and speed up. If I just pull the grip really fast, I can't get that fling, that kind of whoosh. Can you hear that whoosh? With the club. To get that out to there, other things have to stop. And it's the same with your body. And in turn, the energy's in the ground. This is the most common action we see with amateur golfers. So we see slides and slides where they don't get any energies out to that club at the end because they're using all their energy still, again, late as they hit the ball. Or they're even refusing to use much vertical, or they slide, hit, and then hang on the brake so they don't just keep walking forwards. So rather than slide kind of step, which you would see, what they do is they slide, hit, then brace, then pull this hip back, then start standing up to get into their golfers follow through. So let's get rid of that slide and let's try and get your hips rotating and then stalling. First port of call for lots of you, let's get a little bit wider in your stance by having, this is slightly too wide for me, but if I wanted to take away loads of slides, this is where I feel like I can really load up into the inside of this leg to then get back onto this leg and stall. So this is very good for me for stalling. I mean, it can facilitate more kind of horizontals as well, but again, this is the beginning of your ideas. Lots of people get quite narrow And then we see them moving on to the outside of this foot, then they want to get onto the middle of this foot, then they get to the outside, then they feel like they're going to fall over, so then they start backing up. By then the ball's gone, it's too late, they've hit their shot, and all that kind of braking energy has happened again. It's there, like it's happening, but it's happened too late. It's a simple idea. You can go to the range and do this. Don't think you're going to hit great shots like this, it's hard, but what I want you to do is make a backswing where you feel like you just let that trail foot, or your lead foot, sorry, so my left foot come to my trail foot, but I don't want you to feel like you go over onto the outside of this foot. So do feel like as you step, you still stay on the inside of trail foot. And then before you start your downswing, put that lead foot back as a brace to stop. So you're going to put it back to stop, not back to get onto it. You're going to put it as a brace to then push back off it, getting your hips to rear, almost feeling like they're rearing back. That's what it feels like. For most golfers, when they do this, they feel like they're going this way and this way. And that feels really counterintuitive to them. And that's because they're so used to going this way, this way. Your brain feels, oh, energy on the outside of this foot, don't want to fall over, slam on the brakes. Again, it's just too late. If you want, if it's too much sequencing, you can start in this position and get into that jumped position. So club by the ball, feet together. Feel like you're staying on the inside of this foot and then jump onto that foot. So really stamp it down and push back on it. Again, to get the feeling of that jump happening, ideally, it's starting to feel like it's happening here, like way earlier than you believe. Making sure you get the energies out that you're already putting in is just making you more efficient. The more efficient you are, the less strain you're going to have on your body, the less strain you're going to have on your whole golf game. You'll be able to play 18 holes, 36 holes, and get energies out for longer. And that's something I found. I feel like I can just keep going at my topped out speed for way longer because I'm not creating that speed by having to really kind of put loads of extra energy in. I'm just making sure the energy I put in comes out at an efficient time so I can apply it to the way I'm hitting that ball. But often when you do these ideas, it affects your strike, it can affect your delivery, so don't let that kind of put you down. You need to work through those, and to improve your delivery, I've got some of my best drills that are helping so many golfers in this video, and I think it'll help you too.